Broadcasting live from the Jersey Shore, it's Coach Kev on the Damage 365 Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Damage 365 Radio. This is episode number 11. I am your host, Coach Kev. I will be joined a little bit after 6 by Nick DeBeard, who's currently on assignment at the moment. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. We have a show for you today. Our big event super show. 2+ hours of absolute wrestling content from Friday's meet and greet with WWE's former champion and Divas champion Melina, TNA star Rebel. Then we rolled into on Saturday, Queens, New York, the big event, live from East Elmhurst, New York, in the LaGuardia Airport Hotel. We had WWE Legend Leaping, Lanny Poffo, the Genius. He joined us for an interview. I had Angel Orsini, former ECW original, to my left, along with current Valkyrie women's superstar Nyla Rose right next to me, signing autographs for the fans. I had Funkenstein Collectibles to my right. And they were doing their thing, selling their figures and collectibles, and all in all, we had a great time at the big event. It was a first time affair for everybody mentioned, other than Damage 365. It was our third time there. And as always, we like to thank Brian Barth and Tommy Unger for the event. Our table, we were right outside in the action, folks. You paid your ticket, bam, Damage 365 Radio was in your face right there. So we got to see everybody coming. We got to see everybody going. We got high fives from fans. We got high fives from former WWE, WCW, TNA superstars as they were on their way out. Later that evening, it did not stop. We took that long drive from Queens to Staten Island, New York. Fun Station, USA, the home of the Warriors of Wrestling School, and we got to see Valkyrie Women's Professional Wrestling live. And after that show, we got to see a Warriors of Wrestling show live. So it just continued and continued. And then later that evening, I got to share some dinner finally to end that long 36 hours of festivities. With some good friends from RDP Promotions, and got to chill out and talk a little football and things like that with Mr. Ken Anderson, TNA superstar. Good man, really nice guy. So, I'm exhausted just from that monologue. And we haven't even gotten started yet, folks. I mean, later on today, we're going to have CTW Wrestling's head promoter, Colin West. He'll be calling in to tell us about the upcoming show they got in April in Bridgewater, New Jersey. It's a charity show to help fight cystic fibrosis. You don't want to miss that interview as well. And we'll also be playing our Shane Douglas interview that we received 2 weeks ago from the Superstars of Wrestling show. It just doesn't stop. It does not stop, and that's the great thing about being in this business, is it's just so much fun and just so much things going on. But without further ado, we got birthdays, we got shout-outs, and we got a hell of a damn show coming up. So sit back and relax. Got some shout outs, ladies and gentlemen, out there. Lots of birthdays going on. We have a happy birthday going out to Damage Athletics All-Star Outfielder number 2 in the scorecards, but number 1 in your hearts, Anthony Figueroa Jr. Happy birthday, Anthony. We have a happy birthday going out to some Damage alum out there. Former team pitcher number 13, Jesse Young. Happy birthday. Happy birthday goes out to Damage alum and recent Hall of Fame inductee number 4, Kevin Cushing. Happy birthday, Kev. Happy birthday goes out to former outfielder and designated hitter number 31, Andy Gilkison. Happy birthday, Gilky. Happy birthday goes out to former guest on Real Sports Talk with Kenny Klusker, who's currently live on the air right now. It goes out to Corey Schwartz of MLB.com and Fantasy 411. Happy birthday, Corey. A very special birthday wishes go out to former guests Gary Wolf, the Pitbull from ECW. And of course, again, a very special thank you shout out to Nyla Rose and Angel Orsini for joining D365 at the big event. We had so much fun with you ladies, and we hope we can do it again real soon. And happy birthday to everybody who is celebrating their birthday this week with everybody out there in D365.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Hello, ladies. The Big Valboski here, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio.
On January 17th, 2KW Pro took the next step in the Bronx, New York. Now you can take the next step from the comfort of your own home. Now available on gumroad.com/L/the next step. For only $7, you get to see an amazing 8-match card featuring the Walking Riot Rays and the Funky Monkey, Angel Ortiz, tearing the building down, literally. A high-flying tag team throwdown as the High Spot Heroes attempt to steal the show against the Liberty City Dynasty. Styles clash as the Iron Fists of Joe Bullrug look to knock out the MMA fighter David Potter. And in a triple threat throwdown that you will not want to miss, Sir William Black returns to the ring against the real effing deal Mike Drastic and the absolute Chris Cage. All this plus the 2KW Pro debut of John Davis, Larry Dallas, Matthew Ryan Shapiro, and much, much more. Pre-order now for only $7 on gumroad.com/L/the next step. 2KW Pro. Take the step.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
We're here live at Superstars of Wrestling, and I am here with the franchise, former ECW champion Shane Douglas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great being here, man. It's always good to be out.
I had some questions I wanted to ask you, and then I'm going to put you on a hot seat for 5 speed questions.
Okay.
First, for the fans that followed your career, how did you start? How did you get into wrestling? What path did you choose?
Well, I started watching professional wrestling when I was 4 years old. Studio wrestling in Pittsburgh with Bruno Sammartino and Haystacks Calhoun and Dominic DiNucci. And years later, whenever I was in 8th grade, my friends and I built a wrestling ring just to goof around. We were all pretty handy, and we loved professional wrestling, and so we built this ring to goof around in the backyard. And after we built it and goofed around for a couple of weeks, now what are we going to do with it? And so at that time, Muscular Dystrophy used to have backyard carnivals to raise money for muscular dystrophy. And so we thought, well, we'll put on a backyard wrestling show to raise money. And the woman who was the local, she's long since passed away, but her name was Angeline Paparello. She was the Beaver County chapter chairperson of the MDA chapter in Beaver County. She was a nurse that had adult onset muscular dystrophy. And all she could move was a few fingers. The rest of her body was completely immobile. And this woman fought so courageously to beat muscular dystrophy that when she saw these kids, I was in 8th grade, the rest of my friends were in 7th, and she saw these young punks coming in and wanting to raise money for muscular dystrophy. I think she really got tickled by that. These kids cared. And she called me up one day and she said, there's a wrestler that lives locally here. He's an Italian guy. I can't remember his name. Well, Pittsburgh, I'm thinking Bruno Sammartino. And she said, no, it's not Bruno. And she's, kicking around a bunch of different names. And finally she said, it's something like Din or Rooney or Donarini or is it Dominic DiNucci? And he was the world tag team champion at the time with Dino Bravo. So she said, that's it, Dominic DiNucci. And he had agreed to, if he was off that day, he agreed to come by the show. We ended up selling for these young punks in a backyard show, sold $250 in tickets. And I can still remember, even though it's been a long time, I can remember seeing Dominic pull up in his white LTD and getting out of that car and just seeing that massive chest and torso, and, little kids that we were. And he really got a kick out of watching us have the matches. That we were not bad for never being trained. And he actually came down and got involved in the matches. And then I became very good friends with him, of course. And you can imagine like any wrestling market, I was like a dingleberry to him. He couldn't get rid of me. And but he was a really good guy and never really minded. And I didn't bug him too much, But when I was a senior in high school, I asked him to train me. And he agreed to only on the condition that I go to college. And I was already going to college anyway. So I started training my senior year in high school. I had my first professional match. Thanksgiving Day, 1982, was my freshman year in college. So, and oddly enough, as a harbinger of things to come, my first match was in Fairmont, West Virginia. It was me and Dominic versus Bill Berger and the Bigfoot. Or the Beast, Bill Berger and the Beast, in a barbed wire tag team match. So, as if I knew what the hell I was doing with that. But it's been a long, gloried career for me, and I've been so blessed to have had it, and to have had the opportunities I've had. At all the key points in my career, when I trained with one of the best, Dominic DiNucci. And Bruno Sammartino was always over at the school and pitching in. When I went from being a mid-carder to being a main eventer, I got put with Ricky Steamboat, one of the all-time greats in our business. And then when I went to ECW to be a heel, the first time in my career, I got to work with Terry Funk, one of the all-time greatest heels. So I've been very blessed in my career at all those key crux moments of getting time to spend with these incredible talents in the ring. Wrestling legends, true wrestling legends.
We all remember the night you won your NWA championship, and then you proclaimed the belt meaningless.
Yeah.
And then presented the ECW strap. How did that all materialize, and how much flack did you catch from that?
Well, I mean, let's be honest and fair. I mean, we can talk about it now in hindsight, but even at that point, the NWA was dead and gone. I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't me just saying it to make it up. It was a dead entity. ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling, was the only NWA member that was doing consistently good business, and it was growing. You could feel the energy even at that early point that ECW was on a trajectory upward. And Paul Heyman called me, had the idea, ran the idea by me, and to Paul's credit, Paul never told us to do anything. He would give us, with this particular angle, he called and said, I got an idea, doing this, blah, 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 you go over, what if you weren't to accept the belt and just threw it down? And then he would go in to tell me what the good of that was, what the bad of it was. And the only concern I had about it was I didn't want guys that I respected, like Terry and Dory Funk, the Briscoe brothers, even Ric Flair, my personal difference aside, I'm a big mark for his work. He's a fantastic worker. Lou Fez, Ricky Steamboat. I mean, the list is just a mile long of these Harley Race,
Dusty Rhodes,
these incredible workers that I was around and learned from. I didn't want them thinking that.
Once again, I have to say it was a pleasure to finally meet you.
Thank you, buddy.
I'm going to find you on Twitter. I'm going to send you some of your promos. They were fantastic.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's okay.
This interview. I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
And they, so that was my only concern, was that I didn't want them thinking I was shitting on them, because I certainly wasn't. It was the NWA belt was dead, and it was gone, and they all got it. There were a few of them, I think, that were a little bit like, what the hell's that punk doing? But I think in time, when they took a look at it, and they realized that in the work that is this business called professional wrestling, we had a choice in ECW. It was, do we just dissolve everything we worked our asses off to build there and become part of the NWA that has shown before, during, and since that time that they can't get the NWA brand back over. It's dead. They let it rest already. or do we just go ahead and do the ECW thing and build ECW? We had a key moment with that to be able to turn ECW from Eastern to Extreme, which was a huge buzz phrase back then in marketing terms. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. You wrestled